Hi, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all to this episode of Presentation Hell. Today, we're here with Leah Del Percio. She's the CEO of Trustate. Trustate organizes probate and death benefits. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I'm going to turn and ask right here. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. So here's a question. What is Trustate?
So Trustate is actually kind of what you described, but kind of not. So we are an end-to-end estate administration and trust administration platform for trust and estates professionals, namely estate lawyers, trust companies, and fiduciary services arms of financial institutions.
So you're providing a tech support backbone for a lot of those institutions. So if I'm wrong, when someone dies is when your service kicks in.
Correct. In most instances, we do some planning. We have what we call post-planning operations tools for not the drafting of wills and trusts, but rather there's a lot of operational steps that a professional needs to do. Things like trust funding, certain types of letters that need to be drafted, and filings that need to be done when doing, gift planning and estate planning in general. So that would be for our living, our clients, namely those professionals with living clients. But, our bread and butter is really when someone passes away, providing a platform that those trust and estates professionals who are hired to help administer and settle that estate or trust can use to actually close out all the stuff and get
aggregate all the accounts. Just someone passes away, you want to know all their bank accounts, where their money is, where it isn't, what they owe, and if they had 5 credit cards but they had a mortgage and they had some stocks and maybe a death benefit, maybe life insurance, maybe a will that dictates where it goes. Your platform helps them put it all in one place so it's easily understandable so that everything can get wrapped up properly?
Yeah, we have a suite of search tools that professionals can use to get a lot of the information you describe instantly so that their clients don't have to wait by the mailbox for bills to roll in and account statements to come in, which are increasingly harder to get in a digital environment where people get statements delivered to them digitally. So that's one aspect. That's the information and data aspects of our tools, which are all purchasable from the custom dashboard that gets created for those estates, each and every estate that the professional enters.
Okay, go ahead.
But we also do the completion and the transferring, retitling, and closure of a lot of those accounts afterwards.
Okay, so there's a lot of paperwork that goes on afterwards to shut it down.
Yes, so all that paperwork that typically falls to a client or maybe the client's advisor, we can do for those parties. So we can find the American Express bill, we can also go and get that American Express bill closed and finalized as part of the estate administration.
Do you somehow take power of attorney or something in this process to allow it to happen? Or is it, and this leads into my other question, but is there something that allows you to move forward once someone passes away like that? Or is it it just seems to me going in and closing up someone's Amex account is, if they're dead, I think it's okay. But if someone did it to me right now, what's the trigger? Yeah, no, I know that, but that's why I'm saying what's the difference between what you're doing and getting a background check and a credit check and putting them together?
So the difference between what we're doing is first, to answer the first part of your question, we're not acting as the person's power of attorney or fiduciary or in any sort of capacity where we're taking responsibility or stepping into that decedent's shoes or that planning client's shoes. What we simply do is we tee up all of the back-end paperwork like a personal assistant for that professional to then deliver to their end client. So that way they can provide that end client with a much more holistic experience hey, here's the paperwork for the new account application done for you or the account transfer forms done for you, rather than that professional just simply giving them a checklist of, hey, go and get this closed out, because that's really overwhelming for those clients who have, a deceased, usually close loved one that they're trying to,
I got to tell you, this makes a lot of sense. It seems, I know my mother passed away, and I know that it took a year and a half of headache after, from the water company to
Yeah.
the mortgage to just all sorts of different things, odd credit cards that just wouldn't close, and then getting the social media. How do you have a means of getting like the Facebook accounts and things like that so that they don't just sit in eternity out there?
Yes, you can actually do that all from our dashboards. So one thing that I knew from being a trusted estates lawyer in private practice and dealing with hundreds of administrations was this pain point for the end client. They're going through this awful process like the death of a parent, and they don't. It's a lot of work. It's a full-time job.
Yes, I saw the whole
and it's
job.
the worst job in the world. So when lawyers, and we did this at my old firm because we were catering to, $100 million plus estates where those family members aren't doing it. They're hiring a lawyer to do all this work for them.
And there's probably assets everywhere. You never know where something was left.
Well, you'd be surprised, actually. Lower net worth estates, in many ways, from the administrative standpoint, are just as difficult to close out and just as much work for those family members as the higher net worth ones.
I believe
There's
it.
more tax planning and post-mortem legal work that needs to get done with the higher net worth families, but from all the nuts and bolts and legwork that has to get done, a lot of times a lower net worth estate for just a regular person, a main streeter, if you will, is actually harder to close out because there were less financial advisors and people involved from the get-go.
And probably worse recording and keeping everything in order and where it is and where to find it.
Yeah, correct.
Probably more hidden passwords and things like that. I think, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine when you get into the higher net wealth, there are real planning going into it. So it's not, oh my gosh, we can't get into the bank account because we don't have the password. That's kind of organized and set up in a structured way when there's a lot of money.
Correct. And a lot of times there's even better client service from those third-party institutions which Trustate deals with in many cases on behalf of regular people so that we can deliver an experience that ultra-high net worth client gets with their lawyer to, the average person, because no one should have to go through the full-time job of being an estate executor with respect to just all of the different account closures and headache and back and forth you get from financial institutions, utility companies, credit card companies, etc. It's just too much for the average person to bear. And many attorneys and other professionals in the space, they're very focused on the planning aspect, having a will and trust, but that doesn't make this stuff any less difficult.
Yeah.
So this is a way for those professionals to then provide that to their end clients so that those end clients have a wonderful experience with their lawyer.
Why is it just a professional? It's for professionals. Like, as I think about it, I'm not that wealthy, but I have little peanuts here and there that I save. Why shouldn't I have a profile there just waiting for the day I can't answer that question, and therefore I've done the job for everyone up front?
I see. So you're saying if you were essentially planning your estate.
Yeah. No, I'm just asking as like you're talking about this great service. I see it as really valuable, and I see it as something that is in between me, an attorney, and then the service.
Why can't you just go directly?
Why can't I just go in and say, I'm James, I have a 401k, I've invested in some stocks here. These are my passwords locked up. I'm on, this is my bank account. No, I've got a savings account here and just, this is the title to my property. This is so I could organize it, and I know that it's all in there, and I could even put my own will in there.
Yeah, so from the planning side, we're coming out with some new tools where your financial advisor or your lawyer will be able to share that with you. The reason why it's not designed directly for an end consumer at this juncture is because the process of closing out an estate after someone passes away starts out as a legal process because you have to actually get appointed as fiduciary. So while we see, a huge way to help people, who maybe can't afford a lawyer, it's difficult to not have a lawyer involved at that stage of the process, getting
But
the client appointed as the fiduciary,
Yeah,
so
but
that then they can do everything.
can't I be the fiduciary right up front, since I am a human being alive, the fiduciary of my own life, and I can set up my own account that goes in it, and I could actually record my executor in the documentation, so that, God forbid, that the moment happens, it's already queued up with the executor in control of the documentation and everything already set up. Maybe I'm going too far down your product road, but
yeah, so I think you bring up a really great point, and that certainly is the future. But at a certain juncture, even if you've named an executor in your will, it's basically like nominating someone for something that still needs to be validated.
The state needs to validate it.
Yeah, and in order for the state to validate it, there's a legal proceeding that happens.
Okay.
So that's why lawyers, in our opinion, are integral to the process. Most attorneys want to help their clients. They want to provide an affordable solution. They don't do a lot of this work. Usually the lawyer is involved in just getting the client, the executor or would-be executor that's named in that will, even if they were using a tool as you describe it, getting them appointed and formally in that role. They can't do anything until they're formally in that role and have that court order saying, hey,
So there's a lot of legal hurdles that are in place right now that make that all work for you.
Yeah, and the way we see it is that's usually the part that the lawyers do, and in many cases that's the only part the lawyers know to do. The everything else after, they don't even realize in many cases how difficult those 570 tasks of closing out utility bills.
Well, I'd say what you're doing is a huge value equation. Yeah. I'm very intrigued by it. I see the value of it. I think it's really cool, and I personally want to see the product at this point. And
yeah, sure.
We office right next to each other here at Embark Collective here in Tampa. So I think we're going to get a lot closer than just this podcast. But I think it, like what you're saying, is really intriguing. Yeah. This episode of Presentation Hell is brought to you by Presentation Hell, the book. Get yourself out of Presentation Hell and enter Presentation Nirvana. And Presentation Management, the book, the strategy by which making enterprise storytelling better for any global organization. Tell us a little bit about you, where you came from, where you grew up, what brought you to Tampa. Give us a little bit of meat.
Sure. So I'm actually a New Yorker originally.
Where in New York?
Long Island I grew up, and then lived in Manhattan for many years before making the move down south with a short pit stop in the D.C.
When was that?
Area.
When did you move down this area?
In 2021. So I was one of those people who moved during the pandemic.
Wow. How do you like that? Were you in Manhattan during the pandemic?
No. At the time, we were living in the D.C., Maryland area. We moved out of Manhattan in early 2017. So spent a few years there, making my way further down south, after that experience.
Were you at a law firm there, or what did you do? Were you white shoe type law firm?
Yes, I was at one of the largest law firms in the world.
Cadwalder. No, where were we at?
DLA Piper.
Okay.
So,
Piper. Okay.
Yeah, so they had a trust and estates group that was actually headquartered out of Baltimore, Maryland. So that's where I practiced and dealt with many estate planning and estate administration and trust planning and trust administration.
So your expertise comes from the roots of really high-end legal work that has really served some of the biggest and best people in the world.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great
And that's
way
what
to
you're bringing
describe
to everyone else through your product, basically.
Yeah, so my focus was on estate and gift tax, so dealing with, very, very wealthy clients. And what I kept seeing was, for those clients, they would simply fly in on their private jet, sign their estate tax return, which is something very high net worth people typically need to have.
Well, they have the
done
estate, and then the operating organization, then everything that's owned by it.
The TV show Succession is a great example of this. So
I haven't seen it, but yes.
It's all the business planning. Do the kids get the business? Which business do they get? How do we shield this from that person? So all of that kind of stuff was really my whole professional world. Over, a little bit over a decade.
And that expertise, I'm going to say this over and over again, that's what's crafted into this product. That's why Trustate is so good, and why it's you can't just make a product out of the air. You need subject matter experts who's been through every process, that knows the pain of what's going on. And what you seem to say you ooze the pain of probate and wills
Oh
and
my
stuff like
gosh.
that, and you're here to make it easier for the everyone else out there.
Yeah, and I think what was particularly unique about my practice was because we were this large global firm, I wouldn't just be dealing with estates in New York, Maryland, and New Jersey. I was dealing with estates and probates literally all across the country and internationally. So constantly seeing all the commonalities between each state, because each state has their own separate trust and estates laws. So it's a little bit like the wild, wild west, where a lawyer in Wyoming might, if they had a client in Wisconsin, they can't do planning for that client. But when you're dealing with very wealthy families, they have family members who pass away all over the country. So
And businesses in every
and
state.
businesses everywhere. So you're, and our firm was robust. So even if I'm not licensed in Wisconsin, I
Somebody
can
else
still
is.
be the
You have-
subject matter expert on a Wisconsin estate administration.
And you have a
using
member of
a
the
local
bar in
counsel.
Wisconsin who's actually representing and can,
Yeah, precisely. So what I kept seeing was all of these estate administrations, which were, very different from estate to estate, from client to client, and from state to state and jurisdiction to jurisdiction. I kept seeing there were a lot of commonalities between them, and a lot of it was the pain points that we would fix for our clients.
So
in
very
terms of
quickly,
getting
what
the
are
work done.
one or two of those pain points? I know there's pain points, but like,
Yeah.
what like you're going through something. What is one of the things you see that you're like, did they really transfer that money that way, or did they really found the company that way, or what is one of the things you see that you're like, "Ah,
Yeah, and it's all the things our platform solves for. So account closures, retitles, transfers. Dealing with the banks is equally difficult in Wisconsin as it is in California.
So when you say retitles and transfers, this is like they have a condominium at the university the granddaughter went to, and there's a title to it, and somebody owns it. It might be owned by a company. Is this what we're talking about when you're saying?
Even more simple than that. It's I have a checking account at Chase Bank.
Okay.
And or an investment account at Merrill Lynch, and I needed to be transferred into a trust or into the estate or to a beneficiary that's named on the account. The process by which one does that transfer, it varies from bank to bank, but not necessarily state to state. So all of that, it ends up being a huge headache for those family members who are often tasked with doing that work if they're not at a law firm like my old firm where we did it all
With a lot of people billing
for very
hours.
high prices. Yeah.
So you're streamlining that. You're making that type of thing like you can make it where all the documents get centralized in one place, the approvals get centralized, the banks can look at it as a trusted source that all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, or in the legal word, all the A's are covered.
Yeah. Precisely. We're a North Star for a lot of this work because
Hold on, what is North Star?
North Star meaning we are this
Oh, you're the
standardized
guiding
process,
direction. Okay.
and we get a lot of it done. So our users who are that paralegal at a law firm or that solo practitioner, they enter the information about the decedent once into our platform, and by entering that information once, they're not now having to manually go and fill out 50 different forms for their client. We're actually, or having the client do that, they're entering it once, and then we can handle all of the actual completion and paperwork and headache for them. When it comes to finding accounts, that being another commonality of a pain in the neck.
You're like
for every
aspirin.
administration.
You're like Advil. You get rid of those headaches out there.
Yeah, we equate us to like robotic surgery. So
Robotic surgery.
Yeah, so we are a tool that can be used by that professional to get work done.
So let's go to the
With less
business
errors.
model here. We're here at MBAR Collective, which is a group of technology companies that are from startup to growth and coming together with a variety of technology and such.
Yes.
It sounds like a very strong technological platform. I'd love to see it. How do you charge for it? What's the business model?
Yeah, so the way we charge for it, we have a few different pricing models. So we have, a subscription, an enterprise agreement. So for larger organizations, places like trust companies, we have custom licensing contracts with them for what parts of our platform they like to use and use the most based on their volumes, the amount of professionals they have, how robust their work is. Same with some law firms. And then we have, similar to many other types of enterprise software, we have a free account that, smaller firms can go and use, and it has a pay as you go, so they can pay per task. That way they can bill it out to their clients
So
easier.
it's Chinese menu driven. That's
That's-
not the wrong. I'm just saying there's items on your list that you can pick and choose and say, I want this, I want that. Here's the cost.
Yes.
You're not a one size fits all. Go to the buffet and bulk up.
Yes, so things that are free to them are our custom tailored dashboards. But when they want us to perform a search for them or execute on a task like doing paperwork, that's going to cost them.
So you have
piece by
consulting
piece.
services on top of it that.
It's an a la carte menu,
A la
so
carte.
exactly as you describe, and that's our freemium model. Then we have a subscription professional grade model after that. That's a mid-price. It makes sense for a lot of our law firms. They start on the freemium model generally, and then they start delegating a lot of work to us and using our tool as their Bible for every estate and trust administration and plan that they have. So it doesn't make sense for them to always pay as you go for that. So we've created things that they can use so they can implement this as broadly as they'd like across their practice.
Okay. How many paying clients do you have?
We have over 600 law firms on the platform to date and really growing by the day.
That's excellent. And how long has this actually been used in the real marketplace where someone is? I know I have a tech company and it took me like 14 months before I had real paying clients of working on the product to get it out where it was good enough where they said, oh, here's enough money to take it and I'm happy and I'll buy some more next month when I need more.
Yeah, so we started out as a tech-enabled service, so we didn't have our platform yet, and we had paying clients from day one because people were desperate for a tool. So, our service model operated similar to a traditional small business and not really a software company, knowing that we wanted to build technology to automate a lot of our processes and deliver it all through a software platform. So that software platform has been live since July of 2022 and just growing by the day, and we're continually improving it. My co-founder and I, we like to say we're never satisfied. So we see something that our team sees as a big win, and we think, okay, how could we have done this better? So we're constantly innovating. We have a full engineering team, and just continuing to grow that platform so it better serves our users.
Well, I want to point out that is the way true entrepreneurial type of efforts usually come out, because someone's doing something, they have an expertise, they see a hole in it, they step in to make that business a little better. Actually getting paying clients before you turn it into a real branded, identified business. Anyone can sit down and say, oh, I need a logo, I need office, I need a good desk, I need all this stuff. Most people don't have the heart to say, I need a client, and then I'll get the rest of it. That's what I heard from you.
Yeah, certainly.
And that is more respectable than anything else.
Yep.
You haven't taken money from anyone else?
We did raise a small seed round in 2021, and we have a great group of investors who are our true partners in the business. We talk to them on a daily basis.
Are they people who died and had extra money in their accounts? No, I'm kidding. That was a joke.
Honestly, it would be a good crowdfunding strategy.
It would be.
Sure.
Oh my God! This might be the biggest crowdfunding idea ever. There's like $22 trillion in money waiting to be given down the Inheritance Road.
Yeah.
God damn.
As long as they could use our product as, to help, or the family could, and help to ease that burden. This makes sense to me.
Why aren't you a bank?
Maybe we will be someday.
See, this is good. I'm going to knock down the wall between our offices. No, I think this is excellent. I think it's really intriguing what you're doing. Trustate is your probate death benefits organization tool that if you have a loved one or someone who passed away, you better hope that your attorney is using their services, because you want this stuff right. You don't want headaches from it. You don't want someone impersonating your mother or grandmother or something like that. And Trustate, I'm assuming, is going to step into that. You have a little wince there, but I know you have such opportunity. What's here? It's really impressive. Thank you, Leah, for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a pleasure.